All right, we should be good to go. Shout out to the gang. Y'all help me out and do me a favor. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can see me. We're about to get into it. About to have another amazing show on this Monday morning. Welcome, y'all. Welcome back to another YouTube live stream. We've got a lot to get into today. I've got a huge, major announcement about some of the things we've got going on this week. Excited for that. We've also got updates when it comes to what's going on with the war on Iran. It's getting crazy. We've got some updates about Fulton County. We're going to talk about Fulton County and the State Board of Elections hiring a private investigator. They've had enough, along with many of us here in Fulton County. We're going to talk about what's going on with the war in Iraq, unfortunate situations that's happening around the country and around the globe. We're going to get into that as well. We're going to hear from Warnock again. He's back on this same BS. Y'all know what time it is. But either way, we're going to get into it. Let me say what's up to the people before we get started. Shout out to everybody who's in here. So good to see y'all. Of course, we've got my beautiful, awesome, amazing Amy E is in the building doing what she does. Be amazing. We've got the Honorable Attorney Kel Bell is here. Good to see you, Kel Bell. A Fitz is in the building. Virginia Wiley is back at it as well. Shout out to Kevin said, I don't like Mondays. Oh, Kevin. Come on, man. Every day we get to see is a blessing. It's a new day. Y'all be excited. Excuse me. Shout out to y'all. We're going to go ahead and get right into it because we do have a lot to cover on the show, but I do have one favor to ask before we get started. And that is please like the video on your way in. Likes are free, helps the show continue to grow, lets the algorithm know you guys are enjoying the show, shares the video, the channel, this live stream out with more people, which there's already over 400, nearly 500 of y'all that have liked the video so far. So thank you guys for doing that. On your way in, just make sure you hit that like button and I appreciate it. Also, if you're feeling extra generous, you can share the video as well. That's easy to do. You click the share button. You can share it to any social media platform you're on, as well as any text message group you want to send it to, or you can send it to an individual. And then last but not least, I will be reading super chats at the end of the show. So thank you to everybody who goes the extra mile and supports the show by sending in super chats. I appreciate y'all. And it helps keep the lights on here on the show as well. All right, I do have a big announcement. It's something that we talked about. Let me actually move to the side so my face isn't blocked. Something we talked about here last week, and I mentioned to you guys last Friday and last Thursday. We are going to have an exclusive interview with State Election Board member Janelle King. Guys, when I say I'm excited for this interview, this is going to be great. It's going to be a great time talking with Janelle, hearing some of the inside scoop of what's going on with the State Election Board, what they have planned, what they have going on, the fight they've been fighting over the past several years when it comes to getting information from Fulton County regarding the 2020 ballots and beyond. So again, make sure y'all stick around. Make sure you're here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. We're going to be interviewing Janelle King. It's going to be an absolutely amazing interview. So looking forward to that. I'll also be dropping a post over on the YouTube channel. So if you guys have some questions that you want to ask Mrs. King, please make sure that you leave them on that post as well. And you'll be able to drop them in the chat as we go throughout the show. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Yeah, Janelle, she is amazing. I'm looking forward to talking to her as well. All right, let's go ahead and get into our show. I need to get some water real quick because we're still having issues with my live stream cough. I don't know what's going on with that. Either way, we're going to get right into this breaking news because this situation is absolutely sad. Now, you all might be wondering, why is the Iranian flag up on the screen? Well, we're going to get into it because it's going to tie into some of the breaking news we've been hearing about this mass shooting in Texas. Now, this situation is absolutely sad. Allegedly, this man went into a bar in Texas, Austin, Texas, and shot multiple people. There were at least 16 people injured, and 2 people ended up being dead. The shooter himself is dead as well. Now, we're going to get into what's being alleged, what's being said by the FBI surrounding the shooting, if it ties into the war in Iran, which we're seeing and we're hearing that may be the case. But before we get into that, I want to talk about something that Amy posted over on X just not long before this whole situation went down with this Texas shooter. And if you don't follow Amy on X, please make sure you guys go do that. Follow her at IAmyLeigh on X. That's at IAMYLEIGH on X. And she said this about the war on Iran, not knowing anything about what was about to happen with this shooter. She said, breaking, Iran raises the red flag of revenge over the dome in a mosque in Iran. Amy says, should the US be scared? Might this be a method of activating sleeper cells outside of Iran? Now, the interesting thing is, Amy posted this yesterday morning before anything happened with the shooter and everything went down with the shooter. And then, of course, we found out that the shooting happened when it happened. And it's interesting to see the correlation there. I want you guys to let me know if you think there is a correlation, because as Amy also posted over on the X and said this, Austin, Texas mass shooter was armed and wearing a sweatshirt that says property of Allah. Now, Islam being the main religion practiced in Iran, is there something there? Well, we're going to get into it, because this 53-year-old man who was a naturalized U.S. citizen who was born in Senegal was living in Texas. He was also wearing an undershirt that had an Iranian flag on it. Well, we're going to get into some of the video, what happened to this man. Thankfully, this despicable person who was, we'll say allegedly, involved in the shooting was taken out by the police. The reporter says an Islamist shooter in Austin, Texas was identified as 53-year-old, and I'm not going to try and pronounce his name because I'm messing up. We'll call him ND, who was reportedly wearing a shirt that read property of Allah during the attack. And here's the shooter here. Y'all can see him on the ground.
Okay.
And there were multiple shots fired, obviously, with that many people injured. I'm not going to show you guys the video of what went on inside. I've seen it once, and I don't want to show it on YouTube because I don't think YouTube's going to appreciate it too. Every time I see it, not only do I get goosebumps, but it's horrific. You can see scenes from inside after the shooting happened, people giving CPR, blood pouring out of people's heads, out of their bodies. You can watch the chaos as people who are not professionals just trying to administer CPR to their friends to keep them alive. Now, we also have this. This is newly released footage showing what happened and what went down on the outside of the bar at the time the shooting happened, the exact time the shooting happened. And they say, watch as newly released video captures the moment the gunman, identified as 53-year-old ND, initially born in Senegal, opened fire at a bar in Austin, Texas early Sunday morning, killing 3 people and injuring 14 others. Now, it's being reported that it was 3 people, but from my understanding, it's actually 2 people who were killed inside the bar. And then, of course, ND himself was shot and killed by the police. Authorities say the suspect was wearing a shirt reading property of Allah, and the undershirt was displaying the Iranian flag. Quran was later found inside of his vehicle. Sheesh, man.
Oh my God! What is going on? What the fuck is going on? Jesus fucking Christ!
And there's people just sitting there, which is crazy.
What the fuck?
And then there's more video. We have more video here for you guys as well. And we're going to see that this was another video that was just recently released of people who were outside in this same area that saw what happened and what went down. It's tragic.
I heard about a dozen, probably a few dozen shots ring out.
Wow.
Couldn't really even pinpoint where they were coming from. And honestly, we couldn't even comprehend that they were shots. There were probably 15, 20 people in this food truck, and no one was panicking or screaming or running. People thought maybe it's fireworks or maybe it's like a motorcycle.
Oh my God!
That doesn't sound like a motorcycle.
Fuck! Oh God! Oh
And that was the police.
I see cops running everywhere.
Oh my God! What is going on?
And at that point, I get my camera out to record what's going on. And then I capture the suspect walks towards Buford's with his gun pointed at the officers, and the officers fire back and neutralize the situation. The shooter was walking towards where I was and towards where the bar was.
He knew what he was doing.
10 times as much damage if he'd gone back to the bar where hundreds of students were hiding. So I'm just very grateful for the heroic police officers who were able to stop the suspect.
All right, so now we have another video. This is from inside. Now, this isn't the graphic video I talked to you guys before, because there was actually footage that was taken shortly after this attack from the floor. And again, it was too gruesome to show. But we have terrifying video from the mass shooting in Austin, Texas last night. It shows how people have no clue how to react in these situations. That's very true. Or they're drunk. And this person gives their own insight into how they feel about the situation. But let's just play the video. You can hear people in there laughing. That's weird.
We're good. Shit!
It's almost like they just didn't realize what was happening.
Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Close it. Close it. Close it. Close it. Hey, close the doors.
Closing the doors is too late now. Jeez, man. Now we're actually going to hear an update on what went on in that situation and how the FBI is tying this to the war on Iran, possibly.
Earlier today, one of Iran's most influential clerics called for the U.S. and Israel to be eradicated. For now tonight, the FBI is investigating a possible terror attack in Austin, Texas. A gunman killed 2 people, and then police shot and killed the suspect. Later, officials searched his home, finding an Iranian flag and pictures of Iranian leaders. CBS's Jason Allen is in Austin with the very latest. Jason, what more do we know?
Well, Jerika, the shooting started at the bar you see back behind me with the large heart. Police tonight, investigators have closed off 7 blocks of this very popular, busy entertainment district. It was filled with people early this morning when the shooting started.
Where is it?
Video shows people taking cover inside a bar as a gunman fired shots toward them from the window of an SUV.
Y'all be careful out there.
Then police said he parked and got out with a rifle and started firing again. Within less than a minute, 3 police officers patrolling the busy entertainment district shot and killed the gunman. Paramedics immediately started trying to save the lives of the 19 people shot. 2 of them died. 3 more were in critical condition. Sources identified the shooter to CBS News as Ndiaga Diagne, a naturalized U.S. citizen originally from Senegal.
There were indicators that on the subject and in his vehicle that indicate potential nexus to terrorism.
The gunman, in a photo obtained by Fox News, was wearing a sweatshirt that said "Property of Allah" and had a Quran in his vehicle. Investigators searching his home north of Austin found an Iranian flag and pictures of Iranian leaders, according to officials close to the investigation.
This is what keeps the intelligence community up at night. Not people directly associated with terrorist groups, but people who become inspired because of things that are happening in the world.
That's a fact. It's allegedly how Charlie Kirk got killed.
Tonight, he entered the country in 2000, became a citizen in 2013, had one arrest here in Texas in 2022 related to an accident with injuries, and officials tell us he did have a history of mental health conditions. Jerika?
Well, again, this is a sad situation that this happened. Thankfully, they got the guy and he didn't cause harm to anybody else. Prayers go out to the family of people who were affected by this. I want to know what y'all think. Was this directly connected to what's going on in Iran? It seems and it appears to be that way. And honestly, when I first heard this, I said to Amy, I don't think this is related. I don't believe in coincidences, but at the same time, it's just, I can't imagine that it would be related. Now we have all this information that proves that I was definitely wrong in thinking that. So I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments and in the chat. And we got another topic coming up as well. Thank y'all for being in here. We've got over 6,000 of you in the building. If y'all could, please like the video on your way in. Likes are free. And we're going to get into the FBI press conference about this terror attack as well. And that's going to be our next topic. Good morning and good afternoon to everybody just joining us, by the way. Let's go ahead and get into this next segment, because now we're hearing from the FBI in this specific instance with this man that did this terrible mass shooting in Austin, Texas, that there may be a connection to terrorism, and there's definitely a connection to what's going on with the war in Iran. We're going to hear from ABC News, and then we'll actually go to the press conference that local police and law enforcement did, along with the FBI, who was involved and is going to be involved in this case moving on. We even got to hear, not in this case, but I read you guys a message from Kash Patel over the weekend where he said, listen, the FBI is going to be on high alert. If you guys see something, call the FBI and let us know. I'm sure they're going to have a lot to say in this situation as well. Check this out.
About any potential threats to the homeland after the U.S. attack on Iran. The FBI is now investigating this evening a horrific and deadly shooting in Austin, Texas. 2 killed, more than a dozen injured. What authorities say the suspect was wearing, and now federal authorities are investigating the motive amid heightened concern across the U.S. tonight. Here's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, potential evidence that what's happening in Iran may have a direct impact right here at home. Early Sunday morning, ominous sound of gunfire as a nightmare unfolds outside of an Austin, Texas nightclub.
Is anyone in here injured? No, we're good. Everyone, okay.
A man in an SUV using a pistol to randomly fire at people outside the club just before 2 a.m. In seconds, the suspect seen here out on the street, now with a rifle, firing away. In the end, more than a dozen wounded. The witness capturing video of some victims being helped by emergency personnel. 3 of those victims transported to local hospitals in critical condition. 2 dying at the scene. The gunman shot dead by police.
Sad.
Ending the vicious assault.
With families that are at hospital rooms waiting for outcomes from surgery, that's the reality of what we're dealing with today.
The deadly rampage coming hours after the U.S. attack on Iran, and the killing of its supreme leader became the biggest story in the world. And tonight, the FBI investigating whether the shooter might have been motivated by those headlines.
There were indicators that on the subject and in his vehicle that indicate potential nexus to terrorism.
Law enforcement sources say this image obtained by Fox News is the suspect, dressed in a hood.
And keep in mind, he allegedly was dealing with mental health issues. I'm sure we're going to hear about that once we get to the press conference here shortly.
Sweatshirt bearing the words "Property of Allah." Sources identifying the alleged gunman as Njaga Jannah, a 53-year-old naturalized citizen from Senegal. And sources telling ABC News initial reports to police say he was also wearing a T-shirt making reference to Iran. Authorities also investigating whether the man had mental health issues. While we don't yet know if Iran was the primary motivator in this attack, this kind of lone wolf mass shooting is precisely the kind of random violence that federal law enforcement fears the situation in Iran might evoke.
I think law enforcement authorities are concerned about attacks happening every day. And obviously yesterday with the bombings taking place in Iran, the attacks could come even at a higher rate, but it's your schools, it's your churches, it's your airports.
But the fear of so-called lone wolves acting out because of Iran is hardly the only threat from that country that has law enforcement worried tonight.
Listen, and y'all can be rest assured, at church yesterday, I was on high alert. Almost didn't go, to be honest, just to be safe, because large gatherings like that, especially at someone that Iranians are people who are extremists, I should say, may feel very strongly against. I said, man, it might be worth it to just take a little bit break, but we went anyway, and we made sure we were prepared. Let's go ahead and get into this press conference, and we'll hear from the FBI and local law enforcement there in Austin on what they're finding as a part of their initial investigation and how they're going to prepare moving forward.
Well, thank you all for being here. This is, as I indicated earlier, obviously an extremely significant moment and a very significant event. It is one that has brought significant trauma to our city, and our hearts go out to the individual victims and their families as a result of this event. I want to reiterate something I said earlier this morning, and that is my deep thanks and pride in the work that has been done by our first responders and by our police. There is no question in my mind that the quick response of the police officers and of our EMS personnel and those professionals made a difference and saved lives.
Yeah, thank
God. That is an
God.
important thing for us to keep in mind as we go through this and we go both the trauma of this and the investigation. And that is the very professional, extremely competent and quick response of our police and our EMS personnel saving lives under these circumstances. The other thing I will point out is that this is, and you'll hear this from professional law enforcement here in just a moment, this is an ongoing investigation. We are going to work to make sure that the public
See
has
who he was connected to.
as thorough and as rapidly as is professionally appropriate as we continue with this investigation. But I'm going to let the professionals tell you more about that. I just want to make sure everybody understands we're doing this well and we're doing it right, but that sometimes takes time, but we will make sure that the public has the information as rapidly as is professional and appropriate. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our police chief, Lisa Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. As always, appreciate your leadership.
Shout out to Texas, man. Great state.
Condolences to families. And there are families right now that are unfortunately identifying their loved ones. We have families that are at hospital rooms waiting for outcomes from surgery. That's the reality of what we're dealing with today. So let's talk about what happened, what we know. Around 1:58, we had a call came in that someone was shooting around the bar, Buford's bar. We know that a vehicle, a large SUV, drove several times around the block in that area. At one point, he put his flashers on, rolled down his window, and began using a pistol shooting out of his car windows, striking patrons of the bar that were on the patio and that were in front of the bar. He then proceeds westbound on 6th Street, goes to Wood Street where he parks his car, gets out, once again, starts shooting his gun at some people that are walking by. He then walks east on 6th Street. At that point, everyone knows the amount of resources we use on East 6th Street, a large crowd, a large entertainment area here in Austin, where officers, along with EMS and fire, are staged for the weekend. And so you're talking, when this came out, we were about 55, 56 seconds away coming from east to west Austin, and that saved multiple lives. As the officers were responding, again, our suspect was coming toward East Austin, or East 6th Street. Officers were coming toward him, and at the intersection, he was shot, and he was killed. At this time, again, I want to thank our partners, our federal partners, our EMS, fire, crime scene, our victim services that are on scene. Again, this is really tough time for the city of Austin. At this point, I'll go ahead and turn it over to FBI for some comments from them as well.
Thank you, Chief. Again, Alex Dorn, I'm the acting special agent in charge for the San Antonio field office of the FBI. We want to extend our deepest condolences as well to the victims and their families of this tragic incident. I also want to sincerely thank Austin Police Department and the officers for their extremely rapid response to the incident. There is no doubt that those officers saved countless lives with their quick reaction and quick training to respond to the shooter and address the threat. The FBI is working in lockstep with our partners, with Austin Police Department. We have members from our evidence response team, as well as our many other specialty teams, including our digital forensics folks that are on scene, helping to address the scene and gather additional evidence. Obviously, it's still way too early in the process to determine an exact motivation, but there were indicators that on the subject and in his vehicle that indicate potential nexus to terrorism.
Yeah.
Again, it's still too early to make a determination on that. That's why we are investigating it very closely with our partners with Austin Police Department. I just want to say, conclusion, we are committed to seeing this process through to the very end, and we will continue to work very closely with our partners with Austin Police Department. Thank you.
Be interested to hear questions.
Our Chief, Lukritz, to come up and say a few words related to emergency medical services.
Good morning, Rob Lukritz, Chief of Austin Travis County EMS. Again, our condolences go out to all the families that were involved in this. Austin Travis County EMS received the first calls at 1:59 in the morning. As Chief Davis stated earlier, we had medical care on site treating patients within 57 seconds as part of a program between Austin Travis County EMS and the Austin Police Department, where we have paramedics embedded with the teams during the peak of entertainment.
That's amazing.
Hours.
57 seconds.
All total,
wow.
We had more than 20 EMS resources that responded to the scene. We had all critical patients off the scene within 24 minutes and all patients off the scene within 47 minutes.
Hey, listen, guys, if you had seen some of the graphic footage that I was talking about, mentioned in the other video of what happened in that bar, the fact that they got there in 57 seconds saved so many lives, because if that hadn't happened, I mean, there could have been a lot more lives lost. I mean, the amount of blood just in that area at the bottom of the bar was amazing.
In total, there were
thank God for
17
EMS.
patients treated, 3 were pronounced on scene, and 14 were transported to local hospitals, 3 in critical condition. And with that, I'll turn this back over to Mayor Watson.
Wow.
Yeah, if you have some questions, we'll, as it was indicated, we're going to be able to answer a few questions. Again, I want to say that because this is an ongoing investigation, we want to get as much information out to everyone that is in a professional and appropriate way. So there may be some things that we defer on, but if you have questions, please feel free. And
we're just going to point you out, so we're going to get started here. So we heard from a source that there were that they were told that there were explosives in the suspect's car. Can you confirm that?
So once the subject's car was identified, of course, we need to make sure that we're operating safely within that car. There were some things inside the car that gave us concern. So our EOD responded to ensure that there was no bomb material, that type of thing. So that was cleared pretty quickly, that we felt confident that that was not an issue.
So
Seems like he might have acted alone.
Thank you. Was he ever in the bar with guns, or when did he?
He never entered the bar. Like I said, he drove by, was firing outside the window with a pistol. Once he exited the vehicle after parking on Wood, he exited with a rifle at that point.
Wow.
Okay. Do you have any questions? No? Yeah. You? Good? All right, Matt.
Can you kind of just describe the general setup of police and EMS presence in this area of town on a typical Saturday, and a little more of what happened that time?
Yeah, I think it just goes to show what that coordination is. We know, East 6th Street is a large party atmosphere, and streets are closed, they're opened. We're mitigating a lot of people in that small space. And so to have EMS, to have EMS, fire, and APD together working, it is just for things like this. And so again, we're very fortunate in those partnerships, and we work very well together. Very proud of that, and it showed that it worked. Again, I feel like a lot of lives were saved from this. We will be having a briefing tomorrow. Don't have the time yet. We'll get that to you. We'll have more information at that time. Yep, go ahead. Yeah, definitely.
Excellent job by
EMS and the Austin Police Department
Austin first responders
closely together for a number of years. However, there's been significant investment over the past 3 to 4 years in that partnership, including adding dedicated EMS resources to the entertainment district on the weekends, as well as supplemental paramedics that are embedded with the Austin Police Department on various apparatus, including like Polaris Rangers and things that can rapidly respond in the event of an active shooter situation. Those resources were deployed this weekend, and those are the individuals that arrived on scene. There are several up every weekend evening, as well as the additional resources that we have dedicated to the entertainment district, separate from our partnership with APD. All those resources came together today as planned, and had all of the things that we needed in place to be able to effectively manage the scene.
Thank you.
One more question.
Yep. You said indicators of terrorism. Can you say domestic terrorism or international terrorism? And then also, can you confirm the Joint Terrorism Task Force involvement?
Yeah, they're asking about the
Yes,
terrorism
this is
aspect
the
of
second
this.
question. Since it's a matter of, we're looking at it as a potential matter of terrorism, obviously the Joint Terrorism Task Force is engaged, which obviously includes members from Austin Police Department as well as several federal and state and local partners. In terms of specifically what type of terrorism, we're just at this point prepared to say that it was potentially an act of terrorism.
You specifically
Jeez.
mentioned indicators that were on the person. Can you give more description as to what indicators you're talking about?
Again, not at this time. We're not prepared to release that information just because it's very early stages of the investigation, and we wouldn't want to potentially impute any further investigative actions.
All right, let me know what you guys think about that. Again, amazing response here by first responders in Austin. You know, stay vigilant. I don't believe when the president of the United States said there were going to be American lives lost as a result of this continued war in Iran, that this is what he meant, not American civilians, maybe American soldiers, which we actually are finding out and going to get into in the next segment, that there have been several that have been killed and lost already in this continued war. But we definitely don't want to see anything happen stateside anymore. So stay vigilant out there. Y'all be careful and let me know what you think in the comments and in the chat. We got 7,000 of y'all in here now. Wow. Thank you for the loves. Shout out to the gang. And thank y'all for liking the video too. Amy said, I can't imagine the PTSD that these people deal with. It's real. It's real. If any of y'all ever been around a shooting or see someone get shot or been involved in an active shooting, it's it stays with you, that's for sure. Which we're actually going to hear from the president here shortly. It's going to speak on several things, including the situation we just covered. Again, if y'all haven't yet, please make sure that you like the video on your way in. I know most of you have, but there are a few of y'all that are still holding back on the like. It just takes less than a second, guys. Go ahead and like the video if you haven't yet. All right, let's go ahead and get into this next segment. Of course, with everything that's happening stateside, excuse me. Let me actually grab some water. Of course, everything that's happening with the war on Iran stateside and over in Iran, the president of the United States is going to speak about it. We just covered everything that happened with the shooting in Austin, Texas, and how that may be connected or may be some type of retaliation for what's happening in Iran. And now we're going to hear from the president himself and get an update on what's happening with the attack on Iran, where we're at, and how things are progressing with the military. And we're going to unfortunately hear about some members of the military that were lost in this fight. Check this out.
Over the past 36 hours, the United States and its partners have launched Operation Epic Fury, one of the largest, most complex, most overwhelming military offensives the world has ever seen. Nobody's seen anything like it. We have hit hundreds of targets in Iran, including Revolutionary Guard facilities, Iranian air defense systems. Just now it was announced that we knocked out 9 ships plus their naval building, all in a matter of literally minutes. Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. This wretched and vile man had the blood of hundreds and even thousands of Americans on his hands and was responsible for the slaughter of countless thousands of innocent people all across many countries. Last night, all over Iran, the voices of the Iranian people could be heard cheering and celebrating in the streets when his death was announced. The entire military command is gone as well, and many of them want to surrender into saving their lives. They want immunity. They're calling by the thousands. Combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives. They could have done something 2 weeks ago, but they just couldn't get there. Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American
That's sad,
patriots
man.
who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more.
Jeez.
Before it ends, that's the way it is.
Dang, I get keeping it real, but it's tough. I guess you got to set the expectations. One thing I will say I miss about Obama is he had a little bit more finesse, a little bit more swag. Donald Trump is just like, hey, yo, more people are probably going to die. That's what happens with war. Sorry.
Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case. But America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization. They have waged war against civilization itself. Our resolve, and likewise that of Israel, has never been stronger. America is now, again, the richest, most powerful nation in the world by far. But the only reason we enjoy the quality of life that we do and the freedom and security is we have done things that others are unable to do. But it's because of warriors who are willing to lay down their lives to do battle with our enemies. And they do battle better than anybody. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be a dire threat to every American. We cannot allow a nation that raises terrorist armies to possess such weapons that would allow them to extort the world to their evil will. Not going to let it happen. We're not happening to us, and we're not going to let it happen to others. The United States has the strongest military the world has ever seen. I rebuilt our military in my first term. There's never been a military like we possess. And frankly, there's nobody even close, but we are now using that military for good. We want to have it for good purpose. We're undertaking this massive operation not merely to ensure security for our own time and place, but for our children and their children, just as our ancestors have done for us many, many years ago. This is the duty and the burden of a free people. These actions are right and they are necessary to ensure that Americans will never have to face a radical, bloodthirsty terrorist regime armed with nuclear weapons and lots of threats. For almost 50 years, these wicked extremists have been attacking the United States while chanting the slogan, "Death to America," or "Death to Israel," or both. They are the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. We are the world's greatest and most powerful nation, so we can do something about what they do. These intolerable threats will not continue any longer. I once again urge the Revolutionary Guard, the Iranian military, police, to lay down your arms and receive full immunity or face certain death.
They're not.
It will be certain death.
They said they're not doing it.
Won't be pretty. I call upon all Iranian patriots who yearn for freedom to seize this moment, to be brave, be bold, be heroic, and take back your country. America is with you. I made a promise to you, and I fulfilled that promise. The rest will be up to you, but we'll be there to help. Thank you. God bless you to our incredible warriors, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
God bless America. How y'all feeling about that one? It's interesting to hear from the president just what's going down and what's about to happen. And it's interesting to see how these announcements have been done, because we haven't gotten the opportunity as people in the press, as reporters, wanting to ask questions of the president. What's going down? What's the objectives? He's mentioned the objectives. What are we trying to do? We've heard from the Secretary of War that we didn't start this war, but we're about to end it. Hey, I respect that show of strength. But what actually are we trying to accomplish? How are we going to accomplish that? And what's the end goal? So we're actually going to hear from the president again. And this actually is breaking news as well. Just happened over the past couple of hours. in response to some of the things that were going on this morning and what we're going to see moving forward. Check this out from ABC News.
The president did speak to our chief Washington correspondent, John Carl, overnight. John joins us right now. John, you know, President promised to keep the United States out of foreign wars, but at this point, no modern president has ordered more military strikes against more countries than Donald Trump.
And I have to tell you, George, as I spoke to the president, he sounded to me like a president who feels invincible. He talked about the military strike he ordered last summer against the nuclear program in Iran.
We are.
He talked about the operation to take out Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela and what he sees as a wildly successful attack now underway against Iran. He told me, quote, "Nobody could have done this but me, and you know that." In fact, George, he suggested that the success in Venezuela made him less likely to accept concessions in Iran that were offered in the final round of talks. He told me that a year ago he would have accepted what the Iranians offered, but, quote, "We have become spoiled."
But the president didn't offer a lot of clarity on what comes next.
No, he told me that he had been in touch with one member of the regime. He wouldn't say who it was, one surviving member. He suggested that before the strikes, he had identified possible candidates within the Iranian government who could take over the way Delcy Rodriguez did after Maduro was taken out in Venezuela. But he said the attack was so successful, it knocked out most of the candidates. It's not going to be anybody that we were thinking of because they are all dead. Second or third place is dead. As for how long this is going to go on, he said it could be he said he was planning for 4 or 5 weeks, could be longer, could be shorter.
And it's pretty clear this is personal for the president.
Well, look, in 2024, while Biden was president, U.S. intelligence believed that Iran was plotting to kill then-candidate Donald Trump. The Secret Service beefed up the security detail. Other precautionary measures were taken. That experience was clearly on his mind as he ordered the attack that killed the Supreme Leader. He told me, "I got him before he got me. They tried twice. Well, I got him first."
Hey, shout out to the president on that. Hey, I ain't mad at it. Is it worth it? I'm going to leave that up to the great men and women of our military who are allowing us to even and creating the opportunity for us to have the freedom here to talk about this on YouTube while they're over there fighting and risking their lives every single day. I appreciate them. I thank them. So all of my servicemen and women that are watching the channel, let me know in the comments in the chat. How do you guys feel about this? What are your thoughts? And what's going to be the plan moving forward? When does this end? How does it end? I want to know from you guys. Woo! Like the video, man. Y'all see them in the chat. Reminding y'all like the video. Thank you to nearly 500 of you that have. We're almost there. We're almost at 100% likes. I know y'all can do it. I know you guys can do it. We've also got an update here. We're going to go ahead and get into our next segment as well. We are moving through these, but we've got another update with what's going on in Iran because we've talked about and speculated as to what could potentially be happening with this attack, what the plan is going to be moving forward. And now that we've discussed everything that's happening with the war in Iran, the continued war, as they're calling it, we're going to hear more updates on what's going to go down and what the potential plan could be for moving forward with Iran. And we've heard from Russia, which is interesting. I'm not going to bring up the full quote on this show, but it seems like Russia is even in some ways supporting Iran in certain cases, basically saying that, oh, we're sorry for your loss, Iran, with your supreme leader, which is interesting. And I'll be interested to see how the president addresses that as well. Let's go ahead and get to this report from ABC News.
The events unfolding in Iran and the Middle East are moving very quickly. The U.S. now confirming 3 American service members have been killed. They died during an Iranian attack in Kuwait. At least 5 other Americans seriously wounded. A short time ago, President Trump arriving back at the White House. Earlier, his first comments about the American deaths, paying tribute and calling them, quote, true American patriots. The president vowing to avenge their deaths and warning, quote, sadly, there will likely be more before it ends. Right here tonight, we have new reporting on the U.S.-Israeli military operation targeting the supreme leader and Iranian leadership. Sources telling ABC News the CIA had been tracking the Ayatollah for months, right down to his daily routine before the deadly strike was launched. Sources say when intelligence officials learned the supreme leader was above ground in his office and meeting with Iran's top leaders, they struck. Sources say he was killed in the first round of attacks. Tonight, what President Trump is now saying about how long this U.S. military operation could last. Our John Carl talking with President Trump just a short time ago. He says the Iranians have reached out to him. And when John asked the president who will now lead Iran, the president saying the attack was so successful, it knocked out most of the candidates. It's not going to be anybody that we were thinking of because they are all dead. Second or third place is dead.
And again, guys, we've actually heard from Iran as well. They say, hey, all that negotiating talk your president's saying, it's not happening. We're not negotiating right now. We're defending ourselves. We're fighting back. We're not doing this back and forth.
Tonight, across the Middle East, U.S. embassies on high alert, Americans now stranded. And ABC's chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell on the scene of one of these deadly Iranian strikes. Their response to this U.S. attack.
Tonight, the first American casualties of the massive U.S.-Israeli war on Iran, as Iran retaliates for the assassination of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei. U.S. and Israeli military striking at the heart of the Iranian regime, sending shockwaves across Iran, the Middle East, and beyond. The brazen daylight assault, dubbed Operation Epic Fury, beginning at 9:45 a.m. Saturday in Iran. President Trump releasing this 8-minute pre-recorded message from Mar-a-Lago shortly after, laying out his case for war.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people.
Waves of explosions rocking Tehran for hours. Screams of horror in the street, cars and buildings in flames. Satellite imagery showing extensive damage to the Supreme Leader's compound, buildings leveled, smoke billowing from the scene. And tonight, stunning new details on what led up to this massive operation to topple the Iranian regime. A source telling ABC News the CIA had been tracking the Supreme Leader for months, down to his daily routine.
It's even alleged that there were implants that they had in their teeth that allowed them to be tracked and that were placed there in case they needed to be reached by their people. That's how they're saying they knew where they were. Allegedly. Again, I'm not officially reporting that because it's just what I'm hearing. Still interesting, though.
Israeli source briefed on the joint strike telling us Israeli intelligence discovered Khamenei spent quite a lot of time above ground in his offices and not in his bunker. When the US learned the Supreme Leader would be meeting with top Iranian officials in Tehran on Saturday, the source says the timing of the attack was moved up. The US and Israel claiming the 86-year-old Khamenei was killed in the very first round of attacks.
All in a matter of literally minutes. Iran's formerly Supreme Leader,
Operation
Ayatollah
Epic Fury.
Khamenei is dead. This wretched and vile man had the blood of hundreds and even thousands of Americans on his hands and was responsible for the slaughter of countless thousands of innocent people all across many countries.
Now, it's interesting to hear that because we're hearing mixed reports on the actual the Supreme Leader still being alive, which is interesting. So again, we'll have to see if we get some proofs, but make sure you guys stay tuned for that because we're hearing all over the place that he may still be alive. We'll have to see if that's the case. It's going to be an interesting thing to talk about moving forward.
The US alone striking more than 1,000 targets. Navy warships fired Tomahawk cruise missiles. The Pentagon launching new US one-way drones for the first time in combat. B-2 stealth bombers armed with 2,000-pound bombs striking Iran's ballistic missile facilities. The president saying multiple Iranian Navy ships were destroyed, claiming Iran's top military leaders want to surrender.
The entire military command is gone as well, and many of them want to surrender into saving their lives. They want immunity. They're calling by the thousands.
He said, nope.
Combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives.
But so far, no indication from the interim Iranian government. Israel saying the joint operation has knocked out nearly all of Iran's defenses, leading to near total air supremacy over Iran, making it safer for fighter pilots to attack targets in the country. Iran's retaliation, swift and sweeping. At least 9 countries attacked. Israeli air defense intercepting a barrage of Iranian missiles over Tel Aviv. Some still getting through. We were preparing to go on air when another attack came in.
The air raid siren has just gone off once again. It's been going all day.
Wow.
Already we're seeing the signs of what looks like air defense going up into the sky to try and intercept incoming Iranian missiles. All day long, they haven't stopped coming.
Iran
It's
also
chaos,
targeting
man.
at least 4 US bases in the region. Dramatic verified videos circulating online showing those strikes from Jordan to this US naval base in Bahrain,
Sheesh, man.
where 3,200 Americans are stationed.
And there have been several
And after
injured,
President
too.
Trump warned US lives may be lost in this operation, the US confirming 3 American service members were killed in action, 5 more seriously wounded. US officials telling ABC News they were killed in an Iranian attack in Kuwait. The Iran attacks also aimed at civilians. A drone blasting this residential building in Bahrain. Harrowing video showing
Hopefully
the
they
moment
weren't
that
there.
drone came crashing in. People inside taking cover.
Jesus.
Iran targeting Dubai too. This luxury hotel up in flames.
Now, again, we're hearing reports, and I've heard reports from people who are in Dubai who are saying this wasn't an attack on Dubai. It's shrapnel falling from other places. Again, jury's still out on that. We're going to have to wait and see what's officially reported. Keep that in mind as well. It's hard to tell what's an
The
attack.
airports in Dubai and Kuwait hit.
What's not?
Video online showing smoke filling the terminals. In Qatar, people running for their lives. Our Marcus Moore in Doha.
You can see the air defense interceptors going into the air in those bright flashes of orange, and you can also hear the loud booms. This is what we've been hearing in Doha all day today.
And tonight, Iran saying the death toll's rising. More than 1,000 people killed. Crews searching through the night. State media claiming an airstrike on a girls' school in Iran has left more than 150 people dead, including students. The US and Israel still working to verify those claims.
It wasn't by the US. Again, it was, I'm not going to get into that, but Iran bombed their own people. And we've seen it go back and forth. Iran lied. They said the US and Israel did this. We've seen verifiable reports that it was Iran who messed up and did this. I'll find
An
that
order
for you
from the
guys.
president in Florida. A war unleashed thousands of miles away in Iran. And here, somewhere in the middle, far from any battlefield, a quiet neighborhood in the Jerusalem hills, and a
It's sad.
community torn apart. An Iranian missile evading the world's best air defenses, shattering the peace of a religious community that knew nothing of war until tonight.
You see dozens and dozens of rescue recovery vehicles, police vehicles here. The rescue operation has been going on for hours and hours now.
The missile landing in the town of Beit Shemesh, striking a shelter in a synagogue and the homes around it. The wounded carried away on stretchers. At least 9 innocent people died here.
Definitely heavy munition.
We were shown what remains of the lives once lived here. Rescue crews working against the clock, searching for survivors.
Oh my goodness.
Used to be a synagogue, used to be a house. Now it's just rubble.
Prayer books scattered in the rubble. The residents didn't stand a chance. As they were running to the shelter, the missile hit.
I did see reports that people had actually been sheltering in a bomb shelter because the siren had gone off. Is that right?
Yeah, you actually can't see the shelter. It's underneath a lot of this rubble. There's a slight opening that they were able to move the debris to get them out.
And again, what's being reported about the missile with the school is that it was a failed missile by Iran that hit that school. So this is actually from their own media source that says An IRGC aerospace missile hits a school in Manab County in the province there. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps announced that this was inadvertent. So basically the missile failed and it hit their own people. And shout out to Jordan Wells for posting this. He says the regime in Iran has admitted that its own IRGC forces mistakenly struck a school in Manab yesterday, killing dozens of children in what appears to be a tragic misfire near its own military site. Again, it was close to the military site. It makes sense that it possibly failed. To every legacy media outlet, celebrity activist, and pro-regime voice who rushed to blame the U.S. and Israel and amplify the outrage without verification, retract your headlines, delete your posts, and issue corrections. The blood of those children is on Iran's hands, not the strike you were so eager to condemn. Own the fake news you spread. So again, that's incorrect.
There'll be more days like this in Iran, the Gulf, and here in Israel.
This is the reality of the conflict that is now taking place here in Israel, across the Gulf, and also in Iran. These conflicts aren't just about policy, diplomacy, and military tactics. They're about the lives of ordinary people, innocent people, being devastated and being killed.
This Israeli town caught in the middle of yet another war in this region.
It's a very heavy price to pay for trying to attack Iran. Is it worth it?
Let me tell you something. The Israeli nation is a very resilient nation. We're not new to war. But this right here, the world knows that the Iranian regime targets its own civilians. It's a known fact. Here you see that they don't differentiate between any other nation's civilians
they don't
as well.
care.
And had Israel and had the United States and any other nation involved had not gone in and preemptively targeted the threat of the existential threat against our nations, this would be a drop in the bucket.
Yep, absolutely. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments in the chat. We're going to keep reporting on it as we get updates, and hopefully we'll have some more information soon. We'll hear from Caroline Leavitt or the president of the United States himself, the FBI. A lot of questions that we need answered as far as what's going on in Iran right now and what we're going to see and what we're going to have to deal with moving forward. Let me know what you guys think. And thank y'all again. We still got 7,000 of y'all in here strong. This report was interesting. And it's interesting that they debunked the claims themselves. It's kind of wild and kind of sad, to be honest. Not kind of sad. It's very sad. And hopefully we're going to get some more certain answers as far as what's happening, who's attacking what, because as I mentioned with Dubai, it's being said that the issues in Dubai aren't actually attacks. It's just, again, some failed missiles, maybe some drones going down, a lot of confusing information. So we'll get into that shortly, though. Let me go ahead and update this because our next topic, we're getting back into what's going on here in Fulton County. I know many of y'all have tuned in and have loved the content we've been doing about Fulton County. And we're going to hear from someone that we've heard from before, which is a senator here in Georgia. It's about to get wild. So check this out. We've covered Raphael Warnock and him questioning Fulton County election officials about the FBI raid into the Fulton County elections offices. He's been very outspoken about how he feels the FBI's role has been in the 2020 election investigation. And he even called out the Attorney General Pam Bondi saying, "Hey, Pam Bondi, I'm demanding that you give us answers as to why and what happened with these ballots from Fulton County." Well, that's already been done because we got to see the search warrant. We got to see the affidavit and why exactly the FBI went into Fulton County election offices and raided them, or we'll say investigated them, because raids may be a little bit of a strong word. That's the word they're using. Either way, let's go ahead and hear from Senator Warnock on how he feels about this situation. And I want to know what you guys think about this.
All right, we are going to return now to that developing news that we continue to follow out of Fulton County and the fallout, the reactions, and the responses that we are tracking to it. Again, if you're just joining us, last week the FBI executed a search warrant on the Fulton County election hub, seeking and seizing documents and ballots related to the 2020 election. Just this morning, just a few hours ago, some Fulton County officials, including, according to a spokesperson for Fulton County, the Fulton County Commission Chairman Rob Pitts and the Fulton County Board of Elections and Registration, filed suit of their own. They filed a motion in response to the FBI's search warrant.
And as we know, they're now in mediation. The city of, well, we'll say Fulton County is in mediation with the federal government to figure out what's going to happen. In my opinion, what's most likely going to happen is that the FBI is going to say, okay, let us get and make copies and make sure we have everything we need to do our investigation, and then we'll give them back. And then Fulton County is going to say, okay.
Seeking the unsealing of the affidavit that was in support of that search warrant, and also seeking the return of the evidence that was seized. At last check with our Doug Richards about 45 minutes ago or so now, who has been tracking this story, no response to this latest piece of litigation from the FBI at this point. We will continue to track that. But it's not just a local or a state story. This has become a national story with national interest once again on Georgia politics, and Georgia's election system. Our Faith Jesse, my co-anchor on the Georgia Vote, a core member of the 11 Alive political team, a woman who wears many hats. You just recently, just in the last hour or so, talked with Georgia's Senator Raphael Warnock about this. What did he tell you in your conversation?
Well, Zach, I'll tell you what, it's something that we've heard many Democrats talk about, and even some Republicans. But what he is talking about here is just the fact that this election, he believes that it was a fair election in 2020, and he believes that this move is a move to undermine the election process. Like you were just explaining, there are a lot of questions about this, what some are calling a raid, what some are calling search warrants being executed, but the reality of it is that the 2020 election was won by President Joe Biden, former President Joe Biden, but President Donald Trump does not. He continues to dispute that. He says that he does not believe that. He continues to say that the election was rigged and stolen. If you all remember, back in 2020, there were multiple recounts. Governor Brian Kemp, as well as Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, were at the helm of that. There was a specific phone call, which led to a specific indictment against the president. And here we are now in 2026 with what we see, this search warrant executed at the FBI, or excuse me, at the Fulton County election hub by the FBI.
And Faith, I know that that was not the only focus of your conversation with the senator. He visited Minneapolis just a few days ago in the wake of the fatal shooting by federal immigration agents of Alex Preddy, a protester in Minneapolis, the second demonstrator who was fatally shot by federal immigration agents in just a few weeks in that city. Senator Warnock visited the memorial to Preddy. I know you talked to him about his views on what's going on in Minneapolis and immigration enforcement across the country. What did he tell you?
That's right. I mean, and it's really interesting, too, because I'm pretty sure, and if you're watching this and I'm wrong, let me know, but I'm pretty sure we're one of the first local stations. He spoke with me and Sarah Callis from Georgia Public Broadcasting this morning since that trip from Minneapolis. And what he was saying is that, you know, he went over to Minneapolis as a senator, but also as a minister. He gathered there with...
All right, let's just skip ahead to the BS.
In regards
Let's see what he had to say.
Listen.
Let me be clear where I stand. No more masked men jumping out of unmarked cars on our streets.
About ICE.
No more using children as bait.
Come on,
No
dude.
more barging into the homes of ordinary citizens without a warrant. These are basic civil protections that I learned in 9th grade civics class.
Well, did you learn about lying? I'm going to interrupt him here because you're not telling the truth. Using kids as bait. Those cases that we talked about where children were allegedly used as bait, it wasn't the truth. In the one instance where the father basically left his child and ran off because he didn't want to be taken by ICE, there was another instance where people were protesting and left their kids in the car to go and protest against ICE. Come on, man.
You don't have to have a law degree.
No need to lie.
Or to serve in the Senate
God don't
to
like
know that these things are wrong. And I intend to hold the Trump Vance regime that is trying to turn our American democracy into an authoritarian experience. I intend to hold them accountable.
Y'all could just get it right. I mean, dang.
Yes, sir. He says that he intends to do what he can in the Senate to hold the president and those behind the president accountable for this. Ultimately, he said it's going to be up to the voter to decide in November, as well as midterms in May, but ultimately in November to put people in places of power who can make decisions. As you know, the Republicans do have the majority. Many Republicans are following the directive of President Donald Trump, who this was a campaign promise that he has remained true to with ICE enforcement. This is nothing new. He had campaigned on this, and he is sticking to it and continues with the immigration enforcement. But Senator Warnock, as well as Senator Ossoff, and several Democratic senators, as well as representatives in Washington, they say that they are doing what they can do now in their power to make sure that the people of Georgia are protected.
And Faith, obviously, you know this well. We cover this together. 2026 midterm year is here. We are coming up on the heart of the midterm election cycle. Senator Warnock is not up for re-election this year. His colleague, though, fellow Democrat Senator John Ossoff, is.
He's sweating out
We've been
there.
talking a lot today about the Republican primary in the governor's race. The Republican primary in the Senate race has also gotten a lot of attention, has become increasingly heated. Whoever gets the Republican nomination will go on to challenge Ossoff in November. Overarching all of this conversation about elections is what happened at the Fulton County election hub. That has become, once again, a central theme of campaigns and our election conversation.
And we saw John Ossoff at Big Bethel up there crying, like, man, can't believe what they're doing to us. Can't believe that they're raiding our election offices. He's nervous.
I wonder if the senator said anything on that front.
So he did not speak about the campaign specifically, but since you brought that up, I do have some statements from Mr. Ossoff regarding the FBI raid. The statement that we have, it says, Donald Trump's conspiracy theories about the 2020 election have been based in Georgia from the very start. We need to be prepared for Trump to continue abusing his power in an attempt to undermine Georgians' voting rights in the midterm elections. I challenge my Republican opponents, Buddy Carter, Derek Dooley, and Mike Collins, to answer a simple question. Did Donald Trump win the state of Georgia in 2020? That is a statement from John Ossoff. Of course, I did reach out to all three campaigns. I'm just checking my phone right now to make sure that I did not get a text message between now and when I received this. I did receive one statement, however. I have not received statements from Derek Dooley or Mike Collins, but Buddy Carter did send in a statement saying, unlike John Ossoff, I have no problem telling the truth, which is that Donald Trump won the state of Georgia in 2020. After years of lawfare against the president, we are finally having a proper investigation that I hope will get to the bottom of the fraud that occurred in that election. Look no further than recent reports of people registering to vote from addresses beneath bridges and empty lots for proof of that. If Ossoff is truly concerned with election security, he would sponsor the Save America Act and ensure only American citizens register to vote, but that would chip away at his voting base, so he prefers to maintain the loopholes that allow illegal immigrants to vote in our elections. That is
And we're going to talk about the Save America Act in our interview with Janelle King tomorrow. So make sure you guys tune in for that. If you're watching this on the replay, go check out the Janelle King interview that we'll be doing. It's going to be interesting stuff. If you don't know or have information about the Save Act, you want to be tuned in for that.
According to Representative Buddy Carter, it's important to note that election fraud was investigated several times in 2020 and nothing was found during those multiple audits. However,
that's not true.
Just like Buddy Carter, Congressman Mike Collins, who I spoke to last week, he says, we want to see the truth come out of this. I asked him, well, was the truth not revealed in 2020? He said, we'll have to wait and see. Now,
I don't know why it's being said that nothing was found during the audits and during what was done in the recounts during 2020, because that's not true. Something was found. The counts were not adding up multiple times, not one time, not two times, but three times. So that's something.
Issues. Donald Trump tried this in 2020, and the voters of Georgia, they were the ones ultimately who held him accountable. They fired him. And try as he might to disrupt our elections in 2026, part of the response, and I'll continue to do my work as a voice for Georgia in the Senate, but part of how you respond to these awful efforts at voter suppression is to turn out in such large numbers that the outcome is overwhelming and cannot be disputed.
Guys, listen, we've heard from thousands, and I could say this, thousands and thousands of you who are right here in Fulton County, thousands and thousands of you who saw this election on the left side and on the right side. And I think we mainly agree that this was messed up. It wasn't right. There wasn't election integrity throughout all of the 2020 election. And even some of you have said in multiple states. So again, This isn't about the president. We saw it with our own eyes, guys. We saw it. We knew what happened before we saw and heard about the phone call between the president of the United States and Brad Raffensperger. We saw it. We've been talking about it. So why you continue to pretend like we're not seeing what we're seeing is hilarious to me.
And so I think Georgians have seen this before. For them. They don't take kindly to people messing around with our elections. And I think that Donald Trump and the people who are collaborating with him, those who are supporting him in Congress, are going to pay a high price for this come November.
We'll have to wait and see.
So yeah, you just heard there, he has requested a briefing with Pam Bondi on this, hoping to get some answers as of what was taken, why it was taken, and what will come out of this. Will the briefing happen? That remains to be seen, but he is leading that effort with Congresswoman Nikema Williams as well as Lucy McBath. So we will see what comes out of it.
Let me know what you guys think. The ongoing battle, we'll have to see what happens. Let me know what you guys think in the comments in the chat. Again, still 7,000 of y'all up in here listening. I appreciate every single one of you. We got an interesting story, which is somewhat, we'll say it's somewhat breaking news. Somewhat breaking news. And thank you, Mr. Brown, for the super chat. I will be reading those super chats shortly. We got to talk about this one before we get out of here. I know we're getting close on time, but I had to cover this. And again, we are going to be talking to Janelle King. We've got an interview tomorrow morning, so make sure y'all tune in for that. It's not at our usual time. It's going to be a little bit earlier at 10 a.m. So again, make sure y'all go over there and turn on notifications so you don't miss when we go live with that interview. So let's get into this, because as we know, the Georgia State Elections Board is just as sick of the BS that's going on with the 2020 election in Fulton County as we are. And they've done their own investigation. They've got subpoenas that are still active against Fulton County, trying to get more information about what happened during 2020 and beyond. And we're going to talk about it when we interview Janelle King here on the channel. So make sure y'all stay tuned in for that. But now we're hearing that the Georgia State Elections Board has hired their own private investigator. Guys, this gets insane. And they're still fighting. There's more subpoenas that are active against what's going on with the elections here in Fulton County and across the state of Georgia. So let's listen to this from MS Now and figure out what's going on and how this is going to affect the situation moving forward. It's crazy.
Right now, President Trump is heading to Georgia to campaign in the special election race to replace his one-time ally turned critic, Marjorie Taylor Greene. But Trump's appearance, while early voting is underway, comes just weeks after the FBI seized boxes of 2020 ballots from a Georgia election hub, reigniting tensions over Trump's attempts to undo his loss 6 years ago. MS Now's Vaughn Hilliard is reporting on the ground in Georgia ahead of the president's visit for us. And Patricia Murphy is a political columnist for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. I welcome you both. So, Vaughn, you've got some breaking news coming out of this election board, including some news involving a private investigator and a subpoena. What can you tell us?
Right. The president is boarding Air Force One here to head to Georgia right now. But about 2 hours from where we're standing over in Winder, Georgia, is the state election board that continues to meet after prolonging its meeting yesterday. And not only have they subpoenaed Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, but just in the last minutes, they moved forward with a motion to hire a private investigator to investigate election complaints. It's not clear what those election complaints are here in the state of Georgia. Now, why is this a significant move here by the state election board? Well, number one, there's 5 people on it. 3 of them are individuals who are Trump allies who have cast extensive doubts on the veracity of the 2020 election. I talked with one of them yesterday, Sally Grubbs, and she told me that they are still looking at evidence and that they will, it remains to be seen whether they will move forward with the attempt to even take over the Fulton County Elections Administration. This is very nuanced and very granular, but with potential big ramifications. The concern, particularly among Democrats, but Republicans that have defended the election security here in the state of Georgia as well, people like Brad Raffensperger, the concern is that these Trump-aligned state board elections members will seek to effectively take over Fulton County's operations and change their early voting timeline, potentially their Dropbox location changes, but also even voter registration efforts here. Donald Trump himself has called for the nationalization of elections, including localities here. And I want to take you to listen to remarks he made just in the last 24 hours about the potential sending of federal troops into the greater Atlanta area. Take a listen.
You need help in Atlanta. We could take care of Atlanta. I'll tell you what, you ought to get them to call me. We could take care of Atlanta so fast. They don't want to call because they don't want to admit it, and they'll never fix it themselves.
Now, these three Trump-aligned Georgia State Election Board members have even pushed debunked conspiracy theories themselves out in the past, including, for example, that there were ballots that were shredded in 2020. And it's these members that have now hired this private investigator, somebody who we do not know the name of. It kind of could remind you of sort of the cyber ninja type effort that took place in 2021 out in Maricopa County. So there are a lot of questions here as the President of the United States comes here into the state of Georgia. Jon Ossoff is up for re-election, and there are, of course, a lot of questions here about, with 7 months until the midterm elections, how potentially these Georgia State Election Board members could seek to use not only the private investigator, but even put forward such a motion as to appoint their own would-be administrator to oversee Fulton County's elections here in the months ahead. And of course, you just heard there from the president himself threatening the potential movement of National Guard or federal troops here into the greater Atlanta area. So there's a lot at stake just 3 weeks after this FBI search and seizure of 2020 records. All we expect to potentially hear the president address himself in Rome, Georgia. We should note this is the home district of Marjorie Taylor Greene, whose special election to replace her is currently underway. That primary date is March 10th. Alex.
So much at stake here. Patricia, hey, how's this going to go over with the Secretary of State there in Georgia, Brad Raffensperger, when you have an unnamed investigator investigating unknown election issues brought up by whom, about what? What's he going to do with that?
He's not going to be happy about it.
Over well. Typically, it's Brad Raffensperger who is tasked with initiating and conducting these investigations here in the state. But there's been an immense amount of friction between the state election board and Brad Raffensperger because Raffensperger's office has investigated and dismissed nearly everything that the state election board has brought to him recently, and certainly dismissed all of the allegations in 2020 or following the 2020 elections after really extensive, lengthy investigations into each of those allegations. And so he has been seen as, I think, a real brick wall in the view of the Republicans on that state election board. And they're going around him by hiring their own investigator to look into what the exact allegations are. I'm not sure, but this is the first state election board meeting since the FBI raid of Fulton County. And so we've all been watching it very, very closely for this exact reason, to see what steps the election board is going to take. What direction does it look like they're taking elections ahead of the 2020 elections? And specifically, what are they going to do with Fulton County? So that's what we've all been watching. And this is the kind of work to be done here. Democrats, at least, had been really wary of, as well as Raffensperger's office.
Patricia, I'm curious, how much does the president need to say about the FBI seizing those Fulton County ballots? Does that audience in deep red Rome, Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene country, want answers on that?
Yes.
So I think it's really going to vary by individuals. This is going to be done specifically.
No, Patricia, no, you're wrong. They all watch the channel. They've been in the comments. They want to know. Everybody wants to know. Unless it's someone who is not maybe a couple of people who aren't familiar with what happened during that election. Everybody wants to know what happened. They all want to know what went on. You guys have said it to me. We've heard it from our elected officials. We've heard it from the state board of elections, the Georgia State Board of Elections. They want to know. They want to know. We want to know. I want to know.
What
are we talking about?
Processing plant. This is not going to be one of his more typical gigantic rallies where all Trump fans have come. Up there in that northwest portion of Georgia, super, super conservative. He does not need to do any real rallying to get people to support him. But Georgians up in North Georgia are looking for answers on the economy. They're looking for answers on immigration. I think they're looking to hear what he came and promised them a year ago. Where is he on that? So I think an economic message would be very welcome. We certainly, though, are listening for him to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene, to talk about the race to replace her, which is in just about a week. We're certainly listening to see if he gets into any of the politics about our own Senate election. There are 3 Republicans. He has not made an endorsement in that race for somebody to challenge John Ossoff. So there's a ton of politics swirling around what is supposed to be a policy message.
But the race to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene, does it buy Trump anything to criticize Marjorie Taylor Greene? Because she remains popular there. Do you expect he will?
She's popular. I do expect him to criticize her. I think this is personal for the president. Had Marjorie Taylor Greene run, she would have won. She has a lot of support left in that district. The people who are running to replace her are running on sort of a very similar platform. Some of them are looking to be just as rambunctious, as in your face as she was. Others are saying, I have 2 gears. The president has already made an endorsement in this race. He seemed to forget that when he was on Air Force One. It was Clay Fuller who he's endorsed. And so we expect Clay Fuller to be there as well today, because he is the endorsed candidate. But with more than a dozen Republicans running, this really could be anyone's race. We don't know.
All right. So again, y'all make sure you tune in for our interview with Janelle King. We're going to talk about this and many other things, including the SAVE Act and how that's going to affect voting here in Fulton County and across the globe. Let me know what you guys think in the comments in the chat. Shout out to the gang. We made it through another show and there's still over 7,000 of you in the building. We're adding a 0, but that's okay. Let's get to a couple of comments and super chats and then I'm going to set y'all free. Thank you to my guy, Mr. Brown, dropping the 10 bomb. Wow. Didn't even leave a comment, just showing some love. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Always appreciate you being here. Always appreciate you showing up. Thank you, thank you, thank you, my friend. He says Trump's doing everything to distract the news about what's going on in America. I mean, it's still stuff going on in America, so I don't know about that one. Goodness gracious. Thank you for the support, Mr. Brown. I appreciate that. Also, there was another comment I wanted to go back and look at, but I think I might have missed it. Just like Stacey Abrams continues to say her race for governor against Kemp was fraudulent, but they never mentioned that. That's true. And it's interesting, though, because Stacey Abrams, and maybe we'll talk about this tomorrow. There's actually an interview that she did. I can pull it up here where she talks about what happened with the election issue. And you think she'd be someone that would want to get more information about that. But allegedly she's on the other side to where she's saying, yeah, Rob Pitts, y'all stop this now, or it's going to affect a lot of other people. So we'll have to wait and see. Thank you all for the support. Shout out to Mr. Brown for dropping the 10 bomb. We've got our interview with Janelle King tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. So make sure y'all tune in for that. I will drop the link to the interview in the chat. And actually, let me go ahead. Let me pull it up here just so y'all can see it again. And I'll drop the link in the chat for y'all as well, so you don't miss that interview. It's going to be a great time. Make sure, if y'all haven't yet, go to the post that I put on the channel and drop your questions. Drop the questions that you have. There we go. Drop the questions that you have for Janelle King, because she's going to be here with us tomorrow. It's going to be a great conversation. So let me know what y'all think in the comments in the chat. As always, I hope you all have a great rest of your afternoon. Looking forward to seeing y'all tomorrow. And as always, you know what to do. Keep growing, keep pushing, keep it classy. We go. Peace.